what government does is important. But what ordinary people do to give back, to serve others, and make a difference in their communities, that is what makes this country special. Now, back in, I think, somewhere in the Middle Ages, there was a very wise rabbi and philosopher, Moses, help me, somebody, Maimonides, thank you. And he said something very thoughtful. He said there are different levels of giving, from, just charity, and all the way to giving where the recipient is made self-reliant. And I was thinking about this, because you know the saying that if you give a person who's hungry a fish, that person has a meal. If you teach that person to fish, that person can eat for a lifetime. To give a fish is charity, and that's important. To teach somebody to fish is a form of service, of education and outreach, and that's also important. But if you come in, work with the community, and you help innovate the fishing industry, the whole village gets to eat. You create jobs, and you contribute to economic prosperity. It is possible to do good and to do well at the same time. And this is what the Center for Philanthropy and Not-for-Profit Leadership is all about. To serve others, to make a difference, and to make an impact on the community, a social impact, an economic impact, or both. And let me just conclude by saying this. To do good is not just something that's inborn. Yes, I'm very inspired to see all the projects that the students are presenting today and that were out there today. But it's not just enough to have the passion for it. That is important. But you also need the knowledge and skills to translate that passion in ways that make an impact. And that's why this program is so successful. That's why my dream for this program, my dream for the Center for Philanthropy and Not-for-Profit Leadership, will be a program that permeates the whole campus. That this will be known not just as a program to do good in the School of Public Policy, that the University of Maryland will be known as a do-good university. Because we are Terps, and we do good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Loh. It's now my distinct privilege to introduce our three distinguished judges for this year's Do Good Challenge. The first one, who is in the middle, is the Vice Chair of the Board of Regents of the University of Maryland System, former Chair of the University of Maryland College Park Foundation. He is someone who is responsible for the incredible institution that we all get to work in and study in every day. Please welcome Barry Gossett. And next to Barry on his right, which would be your left, is Rosie Allen Herring, who is the CEO and President of the United Way of the National Capital Region. She is the former Managing Director at Fannie Mae. And I'm going to mention this. Washingtonian Magazine in 2003 named her the most powerful woman in Washington. Please welcome Rosie Allen Herring. And as part of our extending our tradition of having a do-good alum as a judge, we're very fortunate to have Sagar Doshi here today. Sagar started a group called Students Helping Honduras. They raised $25,000 when they won the Do Good Challenge 2 years ago. As I mentioned, he is currently working at Deloitte, but he spends time still supporting Maryland students. He told me the other day they're on pace this spring to raise $50,000. And he also travels to Honduras to build this long-term partnership. He is an example of the kind of do-good alums that we want to create and send out in the world. Please welcome Sagar Doshi. And I also want my colleague Alana Fine to come up here, who is the managing director of the Dingman Center. The Do Good Challenge is founded by our Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Leadership. It's in partnership with the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship and the Smith School of Business. And I want to start by thanking our lead sponsor, Morgan Stanley, Private Wealth Management. Morgan Stanley, one second, then you can applaud. Morgan Stanley has been our lead sponsor for 4 years. They are responsible for the growth and support. And I also want to single out Michael O'Neill, who's in the second row, as a strong advocate for our efforts. Please, a big round of applause for Morgan Stanley, Private Wealth Management. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the individual who's in the first row here, Dean Bob Orr, who is the Dean of our School of Public Policy. His entrepreneurial leadership has allowed our do-good efforts to imagine and move to greater heights than we ever thought before. So I want to thank Dean Orr.
Well, thank you, Bob. It's great to be here. First, I need to thank President Lowe because his analogy to innovating the fishing industry motivates and inspires me every year and every time I hear it. So thank you for everything that you do to inspire the campus to do good. I also want to thank our Dean of the Robert H. Smith School of Business, Dean Alex Triantis, for all of his support in this effort and everything we do around innovation and entrepreneurship at the Smith School. And our partner center, the Center for Social Value Creation, who was one of the lead partners in this endeavor and continues to be a big supporter of this effort. So as any of you who are involved in a major event on campus know, these things don't happen with a lot of sweat equity from a lot of people. It takes a lot of hard work throughout the academic year to pull something like this off. I see some people nodding in the crowd who have either been involved in this event or others. So I want to thank a very important group who's really helped to bring this challenge to life. Toby Egan, maybe just raise your hand. Toby's out in the hall. There he is. Thank you. Sarah Harold. Everyone deserves a clap. That's right. Caitlin Messinger, probably running around. I don't think Caitlin got very much sleep last night. Katie Dolan. Chris Fry. I'm not seeing him. Katisa Kiss. Emily Bickgood, who I think greeted us all tonight. Kirsten Kraft, one of our previous winners from last year. And Jonah Myers. Thank you all again for making this such a special evening.
Thank you, Alana. I want to just mention two more thank yous. We're very fortunate for the 5th year to have the pro bono and exquisite photography of Freed Photography. So please, a round of applause for them. And now, let me explain for those of you who it is your first Do Good Challenge, what is the format? In a few minutes here, we will have an opportunity where each of the 6 finalists will have 5 minutes to pitch. Then the judges will have 4 minutes for their comments and questions. But you in the audience also have a very important role to play. After all 6 finalists, there will be a text to vote for the Audience Choice Award for $2,500. So pay attention and think about which one of these finalists do you want to vote for that prize. You're all judges tonight. And to kind of get us even more into the spirit, which is hard because President Lowe's already got the energy high, I want to start with a clip from the Big Ten Network that's showing on TV right now about the Do Good Challenge from last year.
Hello, Terps. Are you fired up for the Do Good Challenge?
My vision is that every student
is an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur. It's all about applying the knowledge and skills that you learn to make an impact on society.
The Do Good Challenge is an 8-week challenge. Over 69 teams, over 1,000 students, volunteer 75,000 hours to many great causes. It is all student run.
And now you will see 6 teams who have thrown themselves into their cause.
Across the world, journalists are literally risking their lives.
4 out of 5 children in Honduras do not have access to basic dental care.
It is really amazing what these 6 groups have accomplished.
The judges have made their decisions.
The Do Good Challenge arises from a very simple inspiration. That is that students aren't just going to school to learn what they can do in the future, but they can do good right now.
And now, my friends, as they say, the main event. The Do Good Challenge, one of its unique features is it has a project track and a venture track. We're going to start with the project track, which is student-created projects for an existing cause or nonprofit organization. And the first group up tonight is No Taboo, period. And I'm going to bring this to the stage Durrani Krishnamurti, Nagin Sharani, and Navititi Ravi. Please welcome No Taboo, period.
I was sitting in my 6th grade history classroom 2 hours before the end of the school day when I suddenly had that exact same feeling that all girls have, where I knew I had just started my period. I immediately tore through my backpack looking for my bright green pad, but it wasn't there. I was sitting with a few of my friends and knew that they likely had one, but I couldn't find the courage to ask for one. So I spent the rest of the day bleeding through my pants because I was too embarrassed to ask out loud. I was so relieved to go home, and I've never been happier to see a green maxi pad in my life. But what if my family's weekly budget couldn't have been able to accommodate that pad or the pads that I would have needed for the rest of the week? But that's a reality. 15,855,000. There are 15,855,000 women between the ages of 14 and 40 living in poverty in the United States. And these are a few of the women who we personally had the opportunity to talk to.
A majority of these women don't have the access to pads or tampons, despite the fact that they need them every single month. When forced to choose between food or feminine products, it's an easy choice for them, but it's not a choice they should have to make.
But the very foundation that should support individuals like these fails to do so on so many levels. Federal benefits such as SNAP and WIC do not provide access to these products, despite the fact that their users are those at or below the poverty level. And why is that? That's because these products are seen as luxuries and not as the necessities that they are. And that's validated by the fact that feminine products are taxed by 45 states. How is it that potato chips aren't taxed, but these products are?
People don't recognize this issue because there's a stigma and discomfort associated with talking openly about menstruation when it's a vital process to life. As a result of these factors, the solution never occurs. It's a violation of basic human rights, most importantly, the right to human dignity.
But the solution is simple, and so is the concept, which is why No Taboo exists. We want to create a dialogue on our campus that opens up a platform to have open conversations about women's health so that issues like this don't arise in the future. We also want to directly aid the issue by providing these products to those in need. We're tackling health, poverty, social stigmas, and empowerment.
Eliminating stigma isn't something we can do on our own. This is why we launched our Don't Stop the Flow campaign. This was a 4-week campaign organized for the Do Good Challenge, aimed at raising awareness in our community. We reached out to 60 campus leaders and informed them about our mission. We then partnered with various organizations on campus, such as the UMD Health Center, DC Diaper Bank, Kappa Alpha Theta, as well as the UMD community, and challenged them to take the initiative to address the issue and collect products.
And our partnership with the DC Diaper Bank is especially valuable. They are a nonprofit organization that serves over 3,600 families in need in the DMV area. In addition to the diapers that they distribute on a monthly basis, they also provide and collect and distribute feminine products because they too recognize the need. We will be giving all of our collections to this organization, so we know that we're able to directly provide our products to those who need them. Through our events, such as distributing menstrual cups to students on campus and collecting these products, we were able to encourage this open conversation about women's health on our campus.
Overall, our campaign was a success. We reached out to 1,000 individuals and with their help collected 6,200 tampons and pads to help 310 local women for their period for a month. More importantly, that's 1,000 individuals who are more likely to donate the next time and now know about the issue. Outside of these collaborations, we continue to create a conversation on campus through our social media presence. The taboo is ingrained in our society, but working to end it starts with constant dialogue. Therefore, we want to create a more permanent presence on campus to serve as an ongoing reminder about this issue.
And with $5,000, we would be able to achieve this. $5,000 would allow us to purchase sustainable containers for placement across campus so that we're able to collect and distribute products on a monthly basis so that we're operating on a year-long level. The boxes will also contain pertinent information about No Taboo's mission and the issue that we're tackling on their outside. So the boxes are serving two purposes. They're not only collecting the products that we're distributing, but they're also educating the community about the issue. We would be able to purchase 15 sustainable containers with the $5,000, and that would allow us to collect over 90,000 products in a single year, and that would help 4,500 local women with their periods for a month. There are other 11-year-olds out there in similar situations to the one that I was in, but unlike me, they are unable to access these products. They do not have the option of overcoming the shame and discomfort of not having that pad. So help us provide these girls with the same comfort and dignity that we all deserve. Thank you.
I'll go first. First of all, very good presentation, and thank you very much for addressing a topic that not many people really want to talk about or address, and I think it's very courageous on your part to do that. One of my questions, though, is in the written material in the presentation, you talked about the 3,600 families that you could serve in 30 shelters. You also talked about diapers as well as the tampons and menstrual products. Is there a disconnect there between the two, or what's your focus, and why would you bring diapers and menstrual products together at the same time? I think you need to tell us exactly what you want to do.
Well, unsurprisingly, diapers, like feminine products, are not covered by federal benefits such as SNAP and WIC, and that's the connection. And the organization that we're partnering up with is the DC Diaper Bank, and they primarily focus on distributing diapers. But again, like diapers, feminine products aren't covered by the same benefits and programs that these families receive. So by providing menstrual cups or feminine products to the same families, they're all benefiting.
So I too want to thank you for a great presentation. I thought that you both handled yourselves very, very well. My question deals with, of course, this is a culture issue, and you talk about the stigma that's been associated with it. Of course, as females, it's something we all understand. Can you share a little bit about maybe this from a health aspect? Mm-hmm. You know, I noticed some of the partners that you have at the University of Maryland Health Systems, and so how are you looking at this, not only as a culture issue, not only as a female-centric issue, but as a health issue for our society in general? Women
without these products deal with a lot of health issues such as reproductive infections, just urinary tract infections, and just reproductive health issues in general. So without these products, they really suffer a lot, and we want to address the health issue as well. So the stigma is definitely a big issue that is contributing to this problem, but the health is definitely a big factor as part of this. Thank you.
Great. First of all, awesome job. Going first is probably super nerve-wracking, so you guys are done now. Pressure's on them. I just wanted to ask, you mentioned the awkward stigma, and I think that definitely comes up. So you had mentioned you reached out to about 1,000 people to get 6,200 tampons. So did you typically find that the people donating the tampons was females, or how did you try to reach out to males on campus, or just because there is that awkward stigma regarding it?
Well, we did primarily work with sororities on campus, and among them there were 1,000 members, and that's what the number was referring to. And it was obviously just us opening ourselves as an organization that is focusing on women's health. So we weren't trying to target one specific audience, so we definitely made it an open conversation. So we welcomed men who wanted to learn about the issue, and that was definitely not a problem.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, one other question. Have you talked to your, quote, customers, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, so we actually went out into the streets of DC and interviewed a few of these women experiencing this issue. And a lot of them said that people don't understand that this is an issue that they're facing, and the community is not giving them the resources that they need. Shelters are doing as much as they can, but the direct public isn't aware that this issue exists, so they're not receiving the products. And they said that the best way to go about this issue is for more people to understand this issue exists and to donate these products.
And now our second team, Preventing Sexual Assault, McLean Rich and Hope Flannery.
In the fall semester of my junior year, I was raped. Now, I know the statistics. It's 1 in 4 college women will be raped in their time in college. However, I felt that I was the only person at the University of Maryland who had suffered from this issue, simply because none of my friends had ever suffered from it, and nobody that I had ever talked to really suffered from it. So I decided to continue suffering in silence. The only people who knew about what I was going through were my roommates, until I decided to open up the conversation the following spring. In the spring semester, I met someone who, we'll call her Jane today. We opened up a conversation about sexual assault and started talking about it. After the conversation began, we realized that not only were both of us survivors of sexual assault, we had the same attacker. This was truly eye-opening for me, and we both decided to report him the following day. Then I started thinking about it, and what if I hadn't opened up the conversation with her? My attacker would still be on campus, and he would never have been brought to justice, and I would never have met somebody who had impacted my life in such a positive way. So I decided to start talking a little bit more. I opened up the conversation to my sorority, Zeta Tau Alpha, of whom Hope and I are both members. I told them at a chapter meeting what had happened to me and encouraged them to come forward and talk to me if they had ever been through the same thing. I was flooded with text messages, Facebook messages, emails of people requesting to meet with me in person to tell me about their own experience with sexual assault as victims. Over 30 people reached out to me within a few weeks, and I had realized that I had to do something. Now, I mentioned that I was going through the reporting process with my friend Jane. The reporting process was long and agonizing and took about 9 months to come to a completion. While this was going on, I was getting daily reminders of another sexual assault story of another one of my sorority sisters, and it was just happening over and over again. And I realized that there was a void on our campus that we really needed to fill. This combination of frustration with the long and agonizing reporting process, as well as input from my friends who are sexual assault survivors, was what prompted us to begin the organization Preventing Sexual Assault. Our mission is to open the conversation and spread awareness about the prevalence of this issue on our campus. And we do so by holding weekly meetings where we talk about the different forms of sexual violence, as well as the different healing treatments and therapies that you can get if you are a victim of sexual assault.
So yesterday was our first big awareness event called Occupy McKeldin, which was a 12-hour event held on McKeldin Mall. The event was aimed to educate and open the conversation about sexual assault on our campus and get as many people involved as possible. So through advertising through our social media outlets, flyering on campus, reaching out to academic departments, and leveraging all the networks that we had, we were able to, on Facebook, reach alone 44,000 people, and we had over 2,000 people attend our event during the 12 hours yesterday. So some of the activities we had throughout the day included trauma therapy dogs, healing yoga, acupuncture, speakers aimed at talking about different facets of sexual assault, from domestic violence to human trafficking, musical guests, food, and we ended the night with a candlelight vigil. And all these activities helped us create a very empowering and positive environment where people felt comfortable engaging with the issue and talking about it and learning and getting involved. And two of our most anticipated speakers were two Bill Cosby survivors, Lily Bernard and Jennifer Kaya Thompson. We flew them in from Los Angeles and Florida so they could talk about their story. They shared their experience being raped by Bill Cosby and the traumatic after effects. They continued to share how opening up their story helped them heal, and they encouraged the audience to share their story, be silent no more, and get involved in the community that PSA is building.
Bringing in these Bill Cosby survivors not only helped attract a lot of attention to our event, but it helped us to destroy the illusion that the rapist is somebody who's hiding in the alleyways, this Hollywood version of rape that we're so accustomed to. It could be anybody from the person who's sitting next to you in class every day to Bill Cosby, America's favorite dad.
So none of this would have been possible without all of our amazing co-sponsors. We were able to secure $7,900 from 13 different academic departments and 19 Greek organizations. This also helped us open up the conversation about sexual assault with them and educate them on how they can get involved. So how will we continue to do good? Through creating PSA and planning the weekly meetings and planning Occupy McKeldin, we learned that everything costs money. From the tables to the chairs to the workshops for self-defense and all the exciting speakers that we are looking to bring, we know that this is all necessary to continue to grow our network and make PSA as successful as we know it can be.
PSA was founded only 7 months ago in October, and we've already been able to do such amazing things. Imagine the good we'll be able to do with a year of experience under our belts and $5,000 to start off our efforts. Sexual violence and violence in general occurs in the dark, and it's our job as a campus community to bring light to this underground rape epidemic that is present on our campus. And that's what PSA, Preventing Sexual Assault, aims to do. Thank you.
Well, one, I do want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. That is tremendous courage to have shared that with us tonight. And so I want you to know that I commend you for being so courageous and sharing that with us.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And listening to your presentation, you gave some statistics that I thought were very interesting. It was 1 in 4 females would likely be assaulted at some point in time during their college tenure. But you also had a statistic about males. That was 1 in 16, I believe it was, that males. Throughout this process, as you were bringing more awareness to this, and it's typically seen as a female-centric issue, what did you learn when you were dealing with your male counterparts when you heard from them around any particular issues that were male-centric during this tenure?
So we actually partnered up with both our own sorority and a fraternity, Alpha Sigma Phi, and we had a speaker speak about male sexual assault who was a victim of male sexual assault himself. And we've learned a lot through doing PSA stuff that males are experiencing a really different experience than women do. They don't get the same amount of support, so we really wanted to shed light on that issue as well, which is why we did bring in speakers to talk about, throughout Occupy McKeldin, the issues that men face experiencing sexual assault.
First of all, great job. I know this is a really great topic to talk about, especially on campus, although it happens elsewhere. I know from going to the University of Maryland here, this is an awesome topic to actually raise awareness about. The one kind of question I had, you had mentioned the 8,000 you had raised and the 5,000 that you'll be raising. What exactly, I may have missed this, what exactly would the money be for it? I know you mentioned, it's the first year, you guys just got started and you're going to be focusing on educating people on campus. So can you just talk more about what the money would be used for?
Sure. So this event, Occupy McKeldin alone, was an $8,000 event. So if we want to continue to have events like this, or even weekly meetings or weekly events, we're going to need the funding to make it necessary, whether it's through just booking things through facilities or getting great speakers and things like that.
And one of the things we spent money on was flying out the Cosby victims, but also at one of our weekly meetings we wanted to do, for example, a self-defense workshop, which was about a $100 cost that we would have to put up front. So things like that, everything costs money, which is what we're slowly learning as an organization that's newly growing, but yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
I too want to offer my sincere congratulations, if that's the right word, for coming forward and expressing your deep secrets and thoughts. I mean, it really takes a lot of courage, and my hat's off to you. Sager touched on the cost of doing this, and you also talked about the reporting, which seems to be a barrier most of the times. Have you learned anything in this? Prevention the discussion is a key to prevention. What could the administration do or law enforcement do to help this reporting process be not a stigma, but really help the victims?
In my own personal experience, I didn't really find much of a stigma with the reporting process as much as it was kind of loosely held guidelines to the reporting process. So extensions were made, deadlines were pushed back in order to favor the attacker. And I just think that we are encouraging the administration to hold people more closely to the reporting process as it's outlined online or as it's outlined by the Office of Civil Rights and Sexual Misconduct.
Well, thank you. I know on behalf of the regents, we are looking at this problem and trying to do something about it system-wide, so thanks again for coming forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now our last project finalist, Terps Against Hunger, and Josh Turksky.
Thank you. This is the Gittins family. Epiphany and her husband, Herberto, are both Army veterans. In 2011, though, Herberto was medically discharged from the military. This left her and her husband struggling to find work and be able to pay to put food on the table for their 3 boys. A lot had happened at that point. They were really struggling. And when this happened, it actually put them out on the street. They became homeless for over 3 years, at some points raising their children out of their car. I can't begin to imagine the pain that Epiphany felt when her youngest son comes up to her and says, "Mommy, I'm hungry." It breaks your heart, and that is what hunger is. The Gittins story is not unique, though. If we take these 5 grains of rice to represent the Gittins family, 1 grain for every hungry individual, if we look at the DC metro area alone to represent the need that is there, there are over 2.1 million food insecure individuals in the DC metro area alone. Sometimes we look at that big number and we think, those are just big numbers, but we have to realize that these are people's lives. That these grains of rice right here is somebody's brother or sister, or their mother or their father. And that these grains of rice, they have faces and they have stories. Hunger is such an issue that affects so many other problems here. Students, imagine going to your class without eating for an entire day and the effect that would have on your performance. Now imagine 2 days or 3. Hunger underpins education, it underpins health, it underpins employment, and so much more. And that's why we're here. Terps Against Hunger is a student group that's focused on educating people and bringing the University of Maryland community together to facilitate meal packing events and support the local community. Our events come in 3 parts. The first part is an orientation. This is where we take our volunteers and we bridge that knowledge gap. We educate them that hunger is not just this issue that's overseas, but it's right here in our backyard. The second part is we actually pack our meals. It's a fun, interactive way that we can engage our students and they can really feel like there's something so much bigger than themselves. This is where the entire UMD comes together for one day. And on that day, we are all Terps Against Hunger. The last part is we actually distribute our meals. So we have 8 distribution partners that we work directly with. And through them, we have over 500 organizations and food centers that they send the meals out to. And our organizations, they love our meals. We sent Manna Food Center 125,000 meals after homecoming this last year, and they distributed all of them within 10 days. A lot of times people ask us, what do our meals taste like? Do you like our meals? Would you eat our meals? And my answer is absolutely yes. And now you get to too. Judges, we have actually brought some meals for you if you'd like to taste them. They are absolutely delicious. Our meals are great as a side or a main course and are absolutely delicious. Our meals give our family the opportunity to spend less on food and more on the things that matter, such as electricity or the monthly rent. These are the things that are so crucial in that time of need. Now, over the course of 8 weeks, we really leveraged all the time that we had here, and we leveraged the challenge to try to raise as much money as possible for families like the Gittins. I'm so proud that we were able to raise over $54,000. Now, to put that in context, that is 415,000 meals. Now, those are both 2 really big numbers, but let's simplify it to what actually matters. 227. With this amount of money, we could feed 227 families of 5, just like the Gittins, for 1 year. These are 227 families that don't have to stress about sending their kids to school hungry, or 227 families that can maybe now afford their monthly rent because how much the Maryland community cares. We have already started packing some of these meals, and just in the last 2 weeks have already worked with a corporate sponsor, Toyota, to pack meals, as well as UMD Greek Life. Now, the Gittins family were able to get out of the food gap. They actually worked with the Capital Area Food Bank, and with the help of thousands of caring volunteers, were able to reach out of the dire need. Epiphany said that they gave us more than food, they gave us hope. And that's the business we're really in. Not the business of creating meals, but the business of creating hope. And now, even though the Gittins are out of the food gap, we have a lot more grains of rice. And that's why we are just getting started. In 2014, our first year as an organization, we did 210,000 meals. Last year, we packed 340,000 meals. In 2016 alone, we were on pace to pack over 1 million meals. We are so excited for the possibilities that we're kind of going through into these next years. If we win the challenge, we'll be able to leverage our time and be able to go up to those corporate sponsors and really legitimize our student group. We also would like to earmark that $5,000 to start a weekend food program in elementary schools so that we can send kids home with the food that they need. In DC today, 1 in 3 children go home hungry or live in food insecure households. That's 1 in 3 children. That is the highest rate in the nation. If the University of Maryland wants to be a serious contender in becoming one of the greatest academic universities in the country, we have to take our community and act like they matter. 1 grain of rice at a time. And that is our mission. Thank you.
Well, an amazing presentation, amazing job you're doing with more than 1 million meals. It's just wonderful. I'll taste them in a minute. But my real question, though, is I was really most impressed by when you said you got them out of the food gap, because this kind of goes to what Dr. Lowe said. You know, you teach them to fish, but if you teach them to have a fish factory, so to speak, then they can get out of this treadmill, so to speak, that they're on. So tell me a little bit more about getting them out of the food gap. And is that an ultimate goal of yours?
Most definitely. And so when we work with our distribution centers, we send them the meals, and they're able to help some of those families in some of the areas where they need to pay for things, such as food. But a lot of our distribution centers also help our families in resume building, getting them into jobs and finding them in job placement. So this is something that they can take them maybe off the streets, help them get some of those really secure jobs, find affordable housing, and using our meals to kind of subsidize some of their normal costs to be able to get them out on their feet and we're a part where they don't actually need our meals anymore. And that is the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. I too want to congratulate you. This is phenomenal to hear. And the statistics that you've shared have been heart-wrenching when you think about the choices that many families have to make. And I know what I see in my day-to-day work as well. The question I want to ask you is about the economics. Because so many times we talk about what we want to do as a do-good opportunity, but it really is about what's the economic long-term sustainability of being able to do something like this. So you've raised $54,000. You want to be able to do 1 million meals this year. How would this $5,000 help you get there, and what else would you have to do? How have you raised the $54,000, and what else are you looking to raise? What does it take to sustain this for a given year?
That's a good question. And so first of all, we want at a point in time that our organization would not exist. That would be a great point where there's no hungry people. So at the end goal is to shut it down. But for right now, there are so many different hungry people, not only in the DC metro area, but around the country, that we know that we can serve. And so we were able to raise that $54,000 mainly through corporate sponsorships and working through UMD Greek Life, but also different smaller businesses and contributors that we can work through as well. We have made a promise to them that the money that we raised would go to local families. And so when we ask for this $5,000, we want this to go into something separate. And so this is going into a brand new feed program that we can go into local elementary schools. And the families that are there and the kids that are there will actually be sent home with meals so they can have them cooked over the weekend. So a lot of times students go and they get those free meals at school, and that's great. But when they go home, they have nothing to eat. And that's really the people that we really want to target as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, so clearly you're super passionate about this. But my question is, so you have a lot of these people come out for Greek Week, and I've been to one of the events. How do you get people to keep coming back or keep staying involved with Chips Against Hunger? Because sometimes students can see it as a one-time event. Okay, I came out to the event, I helped out, check the box. And then how do you get people still to be involved with, because it is, we focus on the hunger part, but how do you get the Terps to actually come out and consistently come out to these events?
It most definitely helps that when we have the backing from the university, and especially Greek life, a lot of those events, students are required, maybe about 20% of Greek life or 10% of Greek life is required to come out. But we want to make sure that when we take our volunteers here, this isn't just some assembly line packing where they're just putting materials and things and then you leave. We really want to make an impact, and that's why we're starting to more educate them that why we're here is serious. But then the second part of the orientation is here's how to pack the meals and here's how to have fun while doing it. And so we've started doing more things like having competitions in between units and stuff like that. Here at Homecoming this next fall, we're hoping to do 400,000 meals and make it a meal packing competition marathon. And so that way we can get our students excited to pack these meals and have fun while doing it, and then want to go out and share what they've done with others.
That's awesome. No, I think finding innovative ways to get students to come out to these events, and like you said, the competition, if you have that against different campus organizations, make it competitive. I think that's an awesome way to get students to keep coming out to one of the events, not just a one-time thing. So that's great.
So I just tried it. It's much better than MREs, I can tell you that. But how do you, if you pack it, excuse me, they're supposed to take it home to cook it. Are there cooking instructions? Right. Are there follow-up to, that they really get the nutritional value out of it?
Mm-hmm. So our meals are actually scientifically designed for malnourished children and adults. So within our 4 ingredients that we have, it's not just rice. Rice is our main ingredient, but that we make sure that they have all the different vitamins and minerals that they need, which is why we have soy protein powder, so they do have some of that protein. But right there on the bags, we have labels, and it says how to cook them, all the nutritional facts in them. And what the great part about having rice as the main ingredient is because rice is such culturally accepted worldwide, we can send our meals anywhere in the world, and they'll know how to cook them and how to package them and feed them to their children.
Thank you. Really is pretty tasty.
Well, those were some very impressive projects. I think the competition definitely gets tougher each year. How about one more round of applause for all of the teams? So once again, I'm Ilana Fine. I'm the Managing Director of the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship at the Smith School of Business. And at the Dingman Center, we're very proud to have expanded our portfolio to include social entrepreneurship over the past year, so we really can fulfill our mission to make entrepreneurs of all kinds more successful. So I'm very excited to be here tonight to introduce our 3 Ventures finalists. The Do Good Ventures are student-founded and student-run social enterprises who are tackling social issues with innovative business models. Our first venture finalist is Annie's Children. Whose mission is to empower children in orphanages throughout developing countries. I'd like to introduce, and I don't want to mess up anyone's names, Anastasia Polyakov, Laura Martin, Katie Aranyes, and Devon Cosme with Annie's Children.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura.
Anastasia.
Katie.
Devon.
And we are Annie's Children.
With over 100,000 orphans in Ukraine, the government's budget is only $30 per child per month, meaning most of the funds used to cover children's daily needs comes from donors. Due to the current military conflict, the currency's value and the donor resources have decreased, leaving the orphanages with more need than ever.
In our second country, the Philippines, there are over 2.2 million orphans. The primary cause is the high number of natural disasters such as typhoons and hurricanes. Extreme poverty also makes it difficult for parents to care for their children. These children lack basic needs such as food, education, and medical care, making them vulnerable to abuse and exploitation.
Where there is poverty and despair, our team saw an opportunity to transform lives and enable sustainable change.
With the goal of making a difference and helping everyone to achieve their dreams, our team established Annie's Children.
Annie's Children is the notion that every child deserves educational and financial stability. We're committed to creating a future where all children have a chance to succeed.
Annie's Children is not a charity. We are a sustainable business venture celebrating foreign cultures to empower orphans throughout developing countries, providing them with the resources they desperately need.
Our team assembles and publishes books of children's folk stories, translated to English and illustrated by the orphans. Our first book, the Book of Ukrainian Stories that the judges have at their table, was illustrated by the orphans at the Lviv Preschool Orphanage. And now over 200 families in the United States are able to enjoy the Ukrainian culture through our stories.
All of the profits made from our book sales go directly to the orphanages to help with a number of problems that they currently face. During the Do Good Challenge, we were able to raise over $4,000 in revenue from our book sales. We bought 49 pairs of shoes for the children, funded a psychological training for the staff, and a 2-week summer camp trip. During the Do Good Challenge, we made over $1,400 and sold over 40 books.
During the 8-week period, we wanted to focus our efforts on setting a foundation for our business rather than strictly sales. To do this, we redesigned the Annie's Children website
To help us grow, we established connections in the Philippines and also with local Montessori schools. Our new partnership with the Philippines will help us expand our business, and the local schools will provide us with a customer base so that we can sell our books wholesale. And we're really excited about these developments because it will allow us to scale our business.
The sales of our first edition demonstrated a demand for our books. During the Do Good Challenge, our team concentrated its efforts on expanding and establishing a strong foundation for our venture. Annie's Children team is currently developing a new edition of Filipino folk stories. We aspire to expand to other developing countries so that no child feels robbed of their future.
While we understand that our goal of providing stability for children across the globe is an incredible undertaking, we believe that we have demonstrated that our ability to provide help to our partner orphanages is feasible. We are currently selling our books for $20 each with a 65% profit margin. We're reinvesting 50% of that profit back into our business so that we may grow. The remaining 50% is given to the orphanages. Annie's Children is currently only an online retailer that occasionally sells at events. We are unable to wholesale to bookstores and the like because we do not have a nonprofit status. If we were to win the $5,000, we would be able to apply for a 501c3 and increase our marketing efforts. We would spend the majority of our money in purchasing our books in bulk so that we could increase our profit margin and decrease costs.
Although it was difficult to make connections with orphanages abroad due to the concerns of exploitation, our team managed to overcome this obstacle through thorough research and also the connections from both Anastasia and Katie.
Our venture is unique because we involve the orphans throughout the process, allowing them to take part in their own success. Our books also do good by encouraging families here in the United States to engage with other cultures and reaching the cultural horizons of young readers and promoting diversity.
We've initiated the change. With your help, we can sustain it.
Through Annie's Children, we're creating a better world, one story at a time.
That's great.
We thank you all for your time. We are now welcome the floor to questions.
Awesome job, all four of you. Awesome job. Quick question. So I know you mentioned the psychological training. You have the 49 pairs of shoes, the 2-week summer camp. I mean, you guys are doing some awesome things. How did you? I guess what I'm saying is, when you're trying to branch out and do so many different things, how do you battle that between having just one goal and just focusing on? Because I kind of got lost on like why shoes. Were you guys focusing on the psychological thing? Were you focusing on the books? So can you talk a little bit more about all the diverse things you guys have done? And why?
Definitely, that's a good question. So I'm originally from Ukraine, and all the connections we have right now, we're working with right now, are the connections that I had back when I was in high school and volunteered in the orphanages. So what we do right now is when we have the funds, we ask them what is that they need right now, and they usually tell us, and we try to provide it as much as possible.
So that changes from time to time?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I too want to congratulate you as well, and don't worry about nerves. It's just, it's something that happens, but at the end of the day, you have to be confident in what it is that you're trying to do and be committed to that mission as well. The question that I have, you answered it a little bit in terms of why Ukraine, and now I get that connection. I also want to then ask, In terms of domestically, here in the nation's capital, in the Washington metropolitan area, in the United States, of course, we do have orphanages here. We have children who are in need. How do you feel, or what's the difference that you've noted between those children in need here versus those who may be in foreign countries, and how do you choose between the two? And was there ever any discussion around, if not Ukraine and here, or vice versa?
Well, we decided on working with underdeveloped nations because it would be a lot cheaper. Each dollar would create a much larger impact. And we felt this would be the best way to spend our money. And so when we were deciding which country, we obviously went with the connections we had first. And if we were not going to do Ukraine or the United States, we'd pick whichever one the students were fighting for to go next. I'm competing to do Pakistan next, that's where I'm from. And I've got a friend from Madagascar who's really fighting me on going to his country next.
Perfect.
Well, congratulations, and again, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you to learn. In particular, how do you do your upfront funding? I mean, I'm like to read books and hold one, but I know this is a digital age, so how do you get these printed first, and what is your financial structure?
Okay, so we first started out by fundraising. We fundraised outside of Stamp. We did the Enterprise Symposium, where we actually won the most do-good dollars. And that was how we got our initial funding, and we published the books, and then from there, we just reinvested our money to grow it.
And then to add to that, we're also selling a new edition of Filipino folk stories, which has not been printed yet, but people can pre-order through our Indiegogo platform.
That was the question I was going to ask in terms of what's next.
Right.
You know, something that you said this is not a charity. This is a sustainable venture. So that means you expect this to outlive tonight.
Yes.
And so what would you do, or what's the plan, what's the long-term strategy of being able to keep this work going and being able to attract additional dollars and making this truly a long-term venture?
Well, we want to create as many editions as we can. There's so many countries out there, and everybody's trying to fight for their country next. So if we can create a whole collection, like as large as the Encyclopedia Britannica, that would be fantastic. We could have, everybody can take home 20 to 200 books for whichever countries they want to interact with and enjoy. And so we see ourselves sustainable in that way because people will always want the next edition.
The world is a big pie. I think you have to concentrate on sort of one slice at a time in order to make sure that you do have a sustainable organization. So I'd like to see you really think about that more than, you know, being all things to all people. That's not going to work. You're not going to sustain that.
Okay, thank you.
Could think about leveraging. Those other countries that want you to come, think about teaching them how to fish.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Annie's children. The next competitor is the Love Blanket Project, represented by master student Nora Pittman and undergraduate Alyssa Cascone.
Good evening, I'm Nora Pittman and this is Alyssa Cascone, and we're going to tell you about the Love Blanket Project. But before I start to talk about the Love Blanket Project, I want to tell you about Aiden. So he's 6 years old, and last year he came down with a bacterial infection. It was really serious. And he had to be hospitalized. And he had to be hospitalized for quite a long time. And during that period, he missed school, his parents missed work, his whole family had to spend days on end in the hospital. And it was really tough, as you can imagine. It was really stressful. They missed the comforts of home. So if this was you and your family, what might be something that would help in this situation? What about, for example, a blanket, right? Blankets are comforting, they're soft. You can wrap yourself up in a blanket, get comfortable, and sort of shut out the world for a moment, especially when something tough is going on. Well, that's where the Love Blanket Project comes in. That's the idea behind the Love Blanket Project. It was started in the fall as a 501c3 by Robin Cheetah, who's an alum, and by the two of us. And the idea came from Robin initially, and her idea really originated because she had a great interaction with a company that makes blankets that has a fantastic social mission. And she thought, how can I expand upon this social mission and really go beyond just making blankets? How can I really infuse social impact throughout some sort of larger project? And that's really what we have developed. It's a project that has social impact built in through the entire supply chain. And I'm involved because Robin and I work together, and I was so inspired when she initially told me this idea. I thought I could help with fundraising and marketing. And Alyssa is a speech and hearing sciences major and is really motivated by working with people who have communication disorders.
So you may be asking, how does this work? So first we gather t-shirts. We gather new, unused t-shirts from local businesses which would otherwise sit in boxes in storage, get donated to Goodwill, or possibly even thrown out. Next, we send those t-shirts to Deaf Initiatives, a company in Columbus, Ohio, which employs deaf individuals with jobs, 75% of whom are underemployed. Once 12 t-shirts, similar to the ones me and Nora are wearing, are transformed into a blanket like you see here tonight, they are sent back to us to be packaged individually by our volunteers. Finally, our volunteers go and deliver the blankets to children battling illnesses in 2 local hospitals, the University of Maryland Medical Center and Children's National Medical Center. These blankets really provide some comfort and help alleviate the stress and the fear that these children are facing on a day-to-day basis. And they also help provide a connection to the outside world beyond the hospital walls that can often be lost sight of during medical treatment. Our goal for the Do Good Challenge was to produce 50 blankets and raise $5,000. We are so happy to announce that we exceeded our goal, and we have raised $15,000. With that, we have created 105 blankets and have collected 2,000 t-shirts. We have engaged 15 volunteers who have worked 250 hours, and we have provide Deaf Initiative employees with 500 hours of labor.
So during the challenge, we also were able to partner with a number of local organizations and businesses, mostly to donate shirts to us so we could diversify the designs of the blankets. But we also had a great opportunity where we partnered with the Washington Wizards, and they actually donated a percentage of the proceeds from ticket sales at one particular game back to the Love Blanket Project, which really helped us produce more blankets. So if we win the Do Good Challenge, what are we going to do with the money? We're a venture, right? So what are the next steps? Well, it's easy. We're going to do 2 things with the money. Half of the money is going to go to scaling up the venture and actually developing a revenue-generating model that we can use to sustain our work, where we are going to partner with local businesses that have unused merchandise that they would want to turn into blankets that they would sell and then give us a percentage of the proceeds. The rest of the money would be used to produce more blankets, specifically to help us place bulk orders with Deaf Initiatives, because the bigger the order, the lower the price of the blanket, the more blankets we can have produced and distributed, more hours that we can employ deaf individuals, and the more t-shirts we can upcycle. So thank you so much for your time, and now we're open to any questions that you might have.
No, I was going to say, this is really a great project, and I think it really hits on a lot of things that would be of interest to me, especially the business side of it and making it sustainable. You've already started out at your 501c3. You mentioned that the deaf and hard of hearing individuals are in Columbus, Ohio. Is that where you send the material to?
Yes, to Deaf Initiatives. Yes.
How much does it cost you to get it manufactured and bring it back?
It's about $100 per blanket currently, but we're trying to lower that price because that's clearly quite expensive. And that's part of the scaling that I was mentioning right at the end of the presentation.
How much do you think you can get that cost down to? That's important.
I'm not entirely sure because this is a fairly new partnership and we haven't been able to actually give them those types of orders, but ideally we would be able to get it down to at least $70, $65, ideally, and possibly look to partner with maybe some organizations locally that also work with the deaf community in a similar way, which would help reduce the costs.
if you could get it down to $70, what would be your retail price that you would want to put in? You talked about selling them and then splitting the profit. So what would be your target price?
About $100.
100?
Mm-hmm. And ideally, you would want to go lower, but that's just based on the current projections that we have.
Thank you.
First of all, those look awesome. I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to take one on my way out. Just kidding. But I just want to mention, can you talk a little bit more about the upcycling process? So you talked about how you get all these organizations and partnerships to donate. If I'm an organization, why don't I just put it on clearance? Why would I can, if they're older shirts, I can just put them on clearance. So I guess, can you talk about how do you pitch to them, like, oh, you should donate towards this, rather than if I'm a business that's just for profit, I'll just put my shirts on clearance and I'll make, I'll cut my losses and I'll take the rest.
So the majority of the shirts that we get are actually donated currently from nonprofits or charitable events where there is no opportunity to actually sell. So for example, Maryland Day, right, they produce however many tens of thousands of shirts and they have leftover inventory. Well, what are they going to do with those? That's not inventory that they would sell. And that's where the idea of partnering with businesses to actually help them create blankets out of their unused stock and then sell them in their stores comes in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So as I think about, again, the questions on the economics, because technically this is somewhat expensive. It's great. Yeah. I love the feel, and I think it's well made, especially when you know that you're supporting a couple of different causes and a couple of different populations that you're looking and seeking to serve. I guess I do want to challenge you a little bit in terms of the economics. How are you looking to bring down that price point? Because you talked about if you could get it from 100 to 70 or so, is that cost also built in the fact that you're shipping?
Yes.
Containers, large containers, when it takes at least 12 shirts to make one blanket, that's a lot of, pushing that you're shipping to another part of the country, of course. What can you do that's looking, that's going to help you bring that price point down as you think about your back office costs? Is there something that you can do locally when you think about, any of the organizations here that are serving that same population or meeting that particular need, cut down at least on the shipping costs? So what are your thoughts there with regards to the economics?
So we have recently begun to reach out to some local organizations that work with the deaf community, specifically partners at Gallaudet University, as well as actually a deaf quilting and blanket making group in Northern Virginia. So that would definitely allow us to bring down our costs and possibly build a business model with them that would still employ the same individuals, so we could keep that part of our social mission alive, but not necessarily have to go through a business that clearly also has to worry about its own margins. So there's definitely been conversations we've been having recently.
One last question. If you had to put it in a 30-second soundbite, what would you say your mission is? Why are you doing this?
So I'd say that we're trying to solve 3 pressing social issues, bringing them all together: upcycling unused t-shirts, providing employment to the deaf community to combat the issues they have in that area, and providing comfort to sick children, and doing that in a unique way by combining all 3.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Love Blanket Project. I'm pretty sure we have some extra Dingman Center t-shirts around the office that we probably could put into a beautiful blanket. So for our last venture, we have Patrick Prommel from the Med Fund.
Hello. All right, so cold college night here in College Park. And where do college students go? The bars, to chic shelter, obviously. And while we were there, my friend slipped, hit her head, and started bleeding everywhere. And we had to rush her to the hospital, and she got the treatment she needed, and I got to wait inside a heated waiting room and stop complaining about the cold. The problem is, in Bolivia, this story is not the same. A 33-year-old man named Jorge came from the rural communities with his 5 children and his wife. He was suffering from pneumonia, and Since he was extremely poor, he didn't have the funds needed to pay for the treatment. So the hospital had to turn him away. And the whole family waited on a stool bench like that, that's the waiting room, out in the cold. And as the sun set and the temperature dropped, the pneumonia got worse and Jorge died. Right outside of the intensive care unit and right in front of the 5 children and his wife. That's why, there's 6,000 of these cases every year. Extremely poor people like Jorge that go by this hospital. And that's 16 a day, to put it in more comprehensible terms. That's why we started MedFund, an organization that provides financial assistance to the medically vulnerable to provide for all their needs. And by we, I mean myself and Joey Kilson, my partner. I'm in charge of the fundraising and growth initiatives, and he's in charge of the day-to-day operations at the hospital. So in one of his rounds, Joey met Luis, an unconscious man suffering of, he had fungus in his brain and was being left to die. And he didn't have the funds, he didn't have family or friends that were willing to help him. And so we stepped in. We shared his story of gingivitis. People gave us $30 for his lab test, and the next day we shared the next story, and he got $50 for his fluconazole treatment. A week later, he was awake and eating, and 2 weeks later, he was out of the hospital on his own 2 feet and ready to go. We helped 56 patients like Luis over the Do Good Challenge. And since we started, that number is 612. And how do we do this? Just like Luis, we find a patient, we share their story, we crowdfund, we assist the patient through the process, and then we report back to the donors. And the reason why we're successful is because we're very transparent with donors. They choose exactly where their money goes, and we apply 0% overhead on those donations. And cost effectiveness. The government provides a 70% subsidy for the extremely poor, and we take the power of the dollar and apply it in the Bolivian economy. Expansion and partners. We've created 3 chapters, one in Columbia University in New York, and the Catholic University and the American School in Bolivia, as well as other campus clubs here at Maryland, as well as the largest shopping mall in Bolivia. And sustainability and growth efforts. We've expanded to the Children's Hospital in Bolivia and another city in Santa Cruz. And we've started to outsource our fundraising efforts and hiring professionals to fundraise for us, which bring 3 times the donations for which we pay for them for. Over the Do Good Challenge, we've raised $10,000. At $40 of average cost per patient that we help, that's a total of 250 lives. Here's the kicker. If we raise that to $15,000 tonight, that's a total of 375 patients. 125 more Luises, people who leave the hospital healthy, and 125 less Jorges who were denied at the hospital door and left to die. See, these are numbers and statistics, but a person is only a statistic until you meet them. And when we meet these people, we're desperate to help them, and we do. And that's why we need your help today. Thank you.
I think this is a great idea. I have a couple of questions. First of all, there is no free lunch, so you have 0 overhead that you report back to your donors. First of all, I want to congratulate you for reporting back to the donors. That's a thing that many people forget about. So the stewardship is extremely important, and I'm sure that's why you get some continued support. But tell me a little bit about the 0 overhead and how you really cover it.
Yeah, be glad to. So we do have overhead. We subsidize our bookkeeping and our fundraising efforts, like I mentioned now. But it's 0% overhead on donations that are chosen by the donor. So if you were to, when we share a story and you see a patient that you connect with and you say, I want to give $100 to this patient, every single cent goes to that patient. We don't touch any of that for any of our outsourcing. We have private donors who cover our overhead costs. So it's a different story depending on what you want to donate to.
Okay. All of this goes to Bolivia. Is your partner in Bolivia?
Yes, he lives there full time, and he also gets sponsored by other people to do this full time.
So
and I'm in charge of the fundraising here in the U.S.
Okay, so you can feel relatively comfortable that the money that goes there then is done, or it is used for its intended purpose. You don't have any unintended consequences of this money just going elsewhere.
No, I've known Joey for most of my life, and we're not going to grow our team unless we know that the person we're bringing in is 100% trustworthy. And the model we have right now, we understand we're growing, but we want to grow at a pace that keeps our success going.
That's an admirable goal, but scaling it only with extremely trustworthy people is a very admirable goal, but beware.
Of course.
I too want to congratulate you. It sounds like it's extremely impactful, and when you're able to put faces with the work that you're doing and names, then they truly are no longer a statistic. The question I have for you is, how do you look to expand this work? You talked about the 3 chapters that you have in different locations. As you think about the long-term viability of this being a true model, and I want you to think, I guess, much more economically about how your model will work, because the 0% overhead is admirable and it sounds good in a soundbite, but it's not very realistic over the long haul. Because at some point in time, people who make donations or contributions are going to have to choose between recognizing that a portion of those funds have to take care of the back office, in addition to also supporting the cause that you're here to support. So how would you look to expand this to other campuses? I see the one in Columbia, you also have the campus in Bolivia, the Catholic University campus. How would you look to expand this, and would you look to bring this, throughout this country, or would you look at other countries, or would you even look at this beyond Bolivia?
Right. So we have short-term and long-term goals. And short-term is still sort of in the 5-year process. I mentioned 16 patients a day. That's a very relatively easy number to address. At the moment, we're addressing maybe 1 to 2 a day, and this is before our chapters has started to bring money in, and before our fundraising efforts, outsourcing. So when we outsource, we've started hiring people, $300 for full-time fundraiser, only in Bolivia, this outsourcing, of course. And then they bring in $1,000 of people who pledge to contribute monthly. So that's a steady source of income, or revenue, if you want to call it, that we can apply towards continuing to grow. And for the campus question, yes, we are looking to expand here in the United States in campuses, including here in Maryland. But again, it's more important to establish it and find success than grow up too big before it breaks our shoulders.
Well, I do want to commend you for thinking strategically about that, because you must be able to demonstrate impact and have results before you seek to expand.
Patrick, great presentation. Also, congratulations on joining Deloitte after graduation. I wanted to ask a question. So you mentioned, I want to kind of more on the marketing aspect to it. So you mentioned you share their stories and people donate. Can you talk more about how you share their stories? I mean, how do I go online to donate? What drives customers to come to your website, and how do you share their stories?
Perfect. Yeah. So we use Facebook. So on people who like our Facebook, we probably put a story or 2 a day, where you would see a description of the person, what they do, what about them makes them a person or human that you can connect with, and what their case is, what they're suffering from, and what their need is. And we would tell you how much money they need. Then we get a flooding import of responses and messages saying, I want to donate to this person. And then we've never not reached the goal for the person that we've shared a story for. We don't share stories for everyone, because obviously you could say that a young 5-year-old girl suffering of whatever is going to get a lot more donations than an older man who's having something a little more harder to share with. And that's where our general donations come in that we use there. But every donation or story that we've shared has been funded through, because we've had enough support for those patients here in the U.S. and in Bolivia.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you to our 3 venture finalists. And I also just want to thank the judges for your questions. because I think it underscores just how hard it is to create a sustainable business model around a mission-driven organization. So I think we all give a lot of credit to these students who are trying to do just that. So thank you. So now we can thank all the judges for their hard work, thank the finalists, but now we have to say goodbye to our judges for a short while you go deliberate and select the winners. I know you have some very tough decisions to make, but good thing you have some food to bring along with you. So now it's your turn to select the Audience Choice Award. $2,500, let me get that right. Yes, $2,500 is going to the winning team. Now, I'm being reminded to remind you, you only get one vote across all 6 teams. There's one winner. So you have a toughest job as the judges do. So here are the codes for text to vote. I'm also told that make sure you use these codes and not those that might be in your program. There's a lot of rules here. And I'll give you 1 minute to vote. Think hard about your decision. I would say I will wait till President Lowe finishes, then continue, but if you follow his Twitter feed, you'll know that he's pretty quick with his thumb, so I can tell he's done, but I'll let the rest of the room take a couple more seconds. Okay, so while you finish up, I think we're good to get going. So earlier this evening, we had a Do Good showcase where we highlighted some of the Do Good teams that participated in the semifinals, and you all had a chance to pick your favorite teams by spending your Do Good dollars. Raise your hand if you spent your Do Good dollars. Okay, great. So now, 2 of these teams, the winning 2 teams, have the opportunity to come give their pitch for the opportunity to win $750. So the showcase teams are The Voice and A Helpful Hello. So I'd now like to welcome The Voice to the stage for a pitch.
Hi, my name is Laura Miller, and I'm the co-founder of The Voice Juvenile Justice. The Voice aims to provide connection, communication, and education to those in the juvenile justice system. Through our program, University of Maryland students connect with incarcerated youth through a poetry exchange. Poetry provides a unique opportunity where students who are incarcerated can reflect personally and grow and transform their lives to something more positive as they prepare to reintegrate into the community. Currently, 55% of incarcerated youth who go back into the community are re-involved in the juvenile justice system after 1 year of being in the community. The Voice aims to stop this cycle. We try to use the poetry that the youth write to us and share it on our blog to raise awareness and reduce the stigma that's associated with being formerly incarcerated. These youth truly want to be productive members of our society. We will use the money from the Audience Choice Awards to create copies of the poetry books that we've we've created and distribute them, sell them, and use the money for a scholarship that will ultimately support one of the individuals involved in our program. One of the youth that we've personally been in contact with through poetry, and then we've been able to go to the detention center and talk to him ourselves, he was so excited with this exchange that he told us he wants to be at the University of Maryland one day, and he'd be studying engineering. We should look out for him. So it's students like that that we impact, and with your help, we can continue this impact and scale it. So thank you.
Okay, and up next we have a helpful hello.
Imagine, you just scored your dream job in DC, life is going really well. It's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, you have your earphones in, listening to your favorite song. You turn the corner and you see a person experiencing homelessness, sitting and asking for money. You look at the man, uncomfortably make eye contact, and walk away quickly, feeling guilty, but unsure what to do. You can start your day like this, or you can play that situation again, this time when you have a Helpful Hello resource card in your wallet. Again, you're walking, it's a beautiful day, you're listening to your favorite song, and you see a person experiencing homelessness. But this time you remember this strange tall guy stamp giving you this resource card and encouraging you to approach this man and have a humanizing conversation with him. You remember him telling you about the harmful psychological effects of ignoring those experiencing homelessness and how it only dehumanizes those who are forced to live on the street. So you pull out your card that conveniently fits in your wallet, and you see all the resources that can help those experiencing homelessness leave the poverty cycle. You see that on it are resources ranging from places to get water and go to the bathroom to transitional housing and employment opportunities. So using this card, you approach that man, introduce yourself, ask him for his name, ask him for his story maybe, but either way you have a humanizing conversation with this person. This helps him in two ways. Firstly, he now knows the resources available to him, and secondly, he now has a little bit more confidence to get up and use these resources to maybe try and leave the homeless cycle. This model is successful because we make it easy for people like you to do good. Also, the best part is that we aren't just giving a person a fish. We're telling him where he can go to learn to fish. And this whole interaction, it's totally free. A Helpful Hello has distributed over 600 resource cards in less than 1 month. We've partnered with other organizations to distribute and have sparked a movement to end the dehumanization of the homeless. But we need your help. It can't stop here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your enthusiasm. So now we have another opportunity to text to vote. You have two choices. We have the voice and a helpful hello. So text showcase 1 for the voice and showcase 2 for a helpful hello. Okay, so now I will turn the mic back over to Bob Grimm for a brief panel discussion with some of our former Do Good Challenge finalists.
Thanks. Thanks, Alana. And while the judges deliberate, we're very fortunate to have 3 Do Good alums with us tonight. And the first one is Evan Lutz, who was here just 2 years ago, pitching on this stage, and just 2 months ago was pitching and winning on Shark Tank for his company, Hungry Harvest. And next to him is Lizzie Sauber, who is a doctoral student here at the University of Maryland in psychology, and last year was part of a group called Let Kids Be Kids, a partnership and a project between the Prince George Family Crisis Center and the psychology students. And she got involved in this issue when she was an undergraduate in psychology working with the shelter. Please welcome Lizzie Sauber. And fresh from her dental classes is Linda Powers, who won the project track to the Do Good Challenge last year with Miles for Smiles. And because she can't get enough of doing good, and the University of Maryland is a first-year student at the Maryland School of Dentistry. Please welcome Linda Powers. So I'm going to start, and I'll start with you, Linda, could you let people know what was your project for the Do Good Challenge? How did the challenge kind of affect that project? And what has happened since you were last year, pitching on the stage for Miles for Smiles?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me back. It's kind of crazy to think that a year ago I was one of the nervous people getting ready to pitch. I remember how many butterflies were in my stomach, so it's a pretty interesting experience to be back on the other side of the stage. But anyway, so first of all, I was part of Team Miles for Smiles, and our goal was basically to kind of make people think about what it means to have a healthy smile. It's something that we often take for granted, but there's a lot of people out there that don't have access to dental care, and it can be incredibly debilitating in your everyday life to have serious decay that's causing you pain and distracting you. So our goal was just to kind of spread awareness about that, and also to fundraise in order to provide access to dental care to people that couldn't afford it. So we were just a small group of students. We didn't really know what to expect, and we started our Miles for Smiles 5K event, but the Do Good Challenge really allowed us to have a platform to spread our message across campus. And since then, we had our second annual Miles for Smiles event just this past January. We had all the funds that we raised last year, we got to provide different machines that they could use on the mission trips that they went on. Basically, we've expanded our outreach since last year, and there's more people involved. We've raised even more money. We had more participants in our race, so it's really exciting.
And the dental equipment, I'm not going to be able to name what it is in Honduras, and it's being able to be used every day to improve the lives of individuals in Honduras.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lizzie, can you tell a little bit about Let Kids Be Kids, your project? You know, what did you do for the challenge? How did the challenge affect it? And what's happened since you were here last year?
Sure. So for a part of our project, we worked with the Family Crisis Center, which is the primary provider for survivors of domestic violence in PG County. And we worked with an existing course in the psychology department that trained undergraduate students, first in a didactic course about domestic violence, and then in the second semester provided them training to serve as volunteers for supporting children living in an emergency shelter with their abused moms. And unfortunately, the Family Crisis Center is so limited in their funding that the children are not a priority for the shelter. And so what we did is, in the Do Good Challenge, we decided to do 3 things. So first, the team of undergraduate students, myself, and alumni from Maryland served the shelter community by going in and providing psychoeducational groups for kids about healthy expressions of feelings, about how to build positive self-esteem and engage in healthy living. The second thing that we did is we trained students from the University Hillel and from the Half the Sky organization to provide childcare for young infant children so that their moms had a break and some time for themselves. So that was a total of 500 or so direct service hours to the shelter. But then we also raised $11,000 between our fundraising efforts and taking second place in the project part of the Do Good Challenge. And we built a brand new playroom. And so over the course of the summer and just this fall, we finished. And we have 2 brand new play spaces for the kids. So we have one that's developmentally appropriate for school-age children and one that's appropriate for the young kiddos. So it's really wonderful.
Thank you, Lizzie. And sure, round of applause. No reason for that. All right. And Evan, since you were here pitching what was then called Food Recovery CSA. Recovery Food CSA. Yeah. Not much has happened, right? Can you talk a little bit about...
The project has died. No, it's going great. You know, we started this little farm stand outside of Stamp Student Union called the Recovered Food CSA 2 years ago. Basically, we sold 5 pounds of recovered fruits and vegetables for $5, right? And the first week we had a huge turnout of 10 students. We had like $50 in revenue, it was great. And then the second week we had 20 students, $100 in revenue, it was great. And then 10 weeks later we had 400 to 500 people coming up every single week. We said, holy crap, we're really onto something here. May 2014, we turned that into a for-profit home delivery-based model called Hungry Harvest. We started from very humble beginnings. We delivered 30 bags that we made in a parking lot actually just south of the University of Maryland, 15 of which were free trials, right? And this weekend, we're about to deliver about 2,500 boxes to people from Northern Virginia all the way up to Philadelphia. And our first run at New York as well. So, which I'll be making the trip myself.
All right. And in full disclosure, I've been a customer of Hungry Harvest since May 2014.
got it.
The box arrives every Sunday. Evan, you've had a lot of success early on with Hungry Harvest, winning on Shark Tank. What do you subscribe as two of the most important reasons for the early success of Hungry Harvest?
Sure. Well, I don't think we've been successful yet, right? I think we have a long ways to go. But I think there's been many times in my life and the business's life where we've almost run out of money, right? We were 3 weeks away from running out of money in not too long ago, like last August, right? And that was the last time we ever really doubted the business, and then we got an influx of customers, and we just kept believing ourselves and kept persisting. So the number one thing is just persistence, right? Just having thick skin and going through challenges, right? I love the name of this event. It's the Do Good Challenge. It's a challenge, right? It's not supposed to be easy. It's always going to be hard. And the more you can persist, and I'm really glad to have the University of Maryland education that taught me to persist and have that really hard work ethic.
Thank you. Thank you. Lizzie, what would you describe as the two of the reasons for the success of Let Kids Be Kids, and how has the experience personally affected you?
So I think the first reason for our success is that we had the competition aspect involved. People really believe in the School of Public Policy and the business school here, and as students in the psychology department, we really benefited from being a part of an organization that had so much energy, such a wonderful reputation, and that really kind of pitted people against each other in the most positive way possible to raise money that we had never been able to do so before. So I think that was a big part of our success. I think the second part of our success was a really open, continuous dialogue between ourselves, the psychology department, our faculty advisor, Karen O'Brien, and the Family Crisis Center, along with our Do Good mentors, to really make sure that we were meeting their needs the way that was most helpful for the kids in their community, and really kind of created a collaboration that has proved to be sustainable for about 12 years now.
Thank you. And Linda, what do you subscribe as, you started this new effort, Miles for Smiles, what do you describe as maybe the two of the reasons for success, and how has that experience affected you personally?
Sure. Okay, so like Lizzie was saying with collaboration, I think that was a huge factor in Miles for Smiles' success. So like I said, it was just a small group of students that kind of had some crazy idea that we were like, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, and somehow it just became an incredible journey, and pretty successful, I'd say, with its challenges, of course. So one of the things that really helped was teamwork. We had a very diverse group. We had an economics major, a communications major, computer science, some pre-health students. So we all kind of drew from our strengths and worked together and made Team Miles for Smiles what it was. Another thing that was really valuable to the success of Miles for Smiles was just the fact that we had such a strong universal thing to tie us together. The smile is like something that you can't really deny, is something that is easy to relate to when we were trying to do our marketing and things like that. So that was a really nice way to keep us cohesive and really connect with everybody that we were trying to reach out to. And since Miles for Smiles, it has been wonderful. I think that this is an experience that will obviously affect me the rest of my life. It really showed me how much you can do, how much power a single person, a small group of people can make a difference in such an amazing way.
I want to ask one more question. President Lowe talked about how we are making Maryland this do-good university. And we've got lots of people in the audience who would like to be the next, Lizzie Sauber, Linda Powers, Evan Lutz. What might be two pieces of advice? I mean, Evan, I think, has given a really good advice, which is it's not going to be success all the way, but you got to persist, right? Lizzie, what's two pieces of advice you'd give someone who wants to do success, do good, and have an impact?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I would say is network, network, network. You're, as so many undergrads in this room now, you're surrounded by these incredible business minds and people who are so interested in who you are and your professional development. And I think some of the most powerful things I've ever decided to do was find mentors who cared about my professional development as a philanthropist, as an advocate. So really make sure to connect to mentors who care about you. And then the second thing I would say is maybe to echo what Annie's children talked about, is to really make sure that you are working with the organizations and the people and the communities that you're trying to help so that their voices are heard and that you're not speaking for them but working with them. We come from a really privileged place being here in this room and on this stage, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that when we decide to help. We really want to look at what does it mean to help.
Linda?
Yeah. So let's see, I think one of the things that really helped us was that whenever we had those late nights where we were working really hard, when we were kind of like, oh, I just want to go to bed now, like this is too much work, like we can't do anything more, we just kind of kept the big goal in mind. We realized that we were doing something that was bigger than ourselves, and that really kept us going. It gave us motivation to keep doing what we were doing. And then another thing that was really useful was just kind of enjoying the journey. Like, it can be stressful, but it can also be so, so rewarding. So I think having such a positive mindset throughout the whole process, it made it so much more enjoyable. I'm still really good friends with all the people I worked with. And I think it also made us stronger and more successful just as a whole. If there was ever anything that we disagreed upon, we didn't let it like destroy our efforts. So it was really good. We kept our smiles on as we
Sure.
Evan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything special about me, right? I know what I want, and I had two goals, growing up. I wanted to get into the University of Maryland and start my own business. And so now I can die a happy man, right? So my brother goes to Maryland, my cousin who's somewhere in the audience goes to Maryland, my uncle went to Maryland, my mom, my dad, and my grandma even went to Maryland. Wow. One day my kids will one day go to Maryland, right? And so I just want to say, like, there is so much that this university has to offer, right? As a student, I wish that my email address, like login, still worked, because there's so many resources available to students here. Millions and millions of dollars are spent on the faculty, on all the research, so take advantage of that, right? There's nothing special about me. I just knew how to be resourceful and take advantage of the resources that were in front of me. And the University of Maryland provided a lot of stuff for that. So take advantage of resources. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Evan. Thank you. As you can see here, all three of our Do Good alums, or maybe I'll call them Do Good pioneers, they did face the Do Good challenge, and it was a challenge, but they certainly were all up to the challenge. So how about one more round of applause for our fabulous Do Good alums? All right, thank you very much. Thank you. And now we are ready to welcome the judges back to the stage for the big announcements.
All right, so the showcase participant winner is A Helpful Hello. And the audience choice goes to Terps Against Hunger.
So for the projects, I will bring them to you in third place, second place, and first place. And I probably will try to get this right so I won't be Steve Harvey and give you number 2 when I should be giving you number 1. In third place, under the projects, no taboo period. We thought that they did a great job, and our feedback is just to encourage them to think about this because, again, this is a single issue or an issue that is seen as not as universal as some of the others, and to highlight it as a health issue and not just the stigma. In second place, preventing sexual assault. We thought that they did an excellent job of demonstrating great courage as well as great press in terms of being able to bring an issue that is known on many of our college campuses to light. And we'd like to encourage them to bring even more solutions to the table as we think about, for example, the bureaucracy around the reporting issue. So we want to encourage you to remove the stigma and remove the issues around reporting so that more people will feel empowered to do so and it not take 9 months. How about that? Perfect. So let's congratulate them again, please. And the winner in the project section is Terps Against Hunger. As we shared during our conversations with the presentation, we thought that the statistics and the business model was very solid and that it really underpinned the fact that this was something that was universal. And it also demonstrates that this is not only something that goes across all families, everyone understands food insecurity and understands that there is a food gap, but it also demonstrated there is something that everyone can do. So it's not just those that we're looking to serve, but this is something that everyone can contribute towards. So great job, and congratulations to all 3 of our project finalists.
Well, thank you all. Now for the venture track winners. It was a very difficult decision. Everybody made great presentations, and we were very pleased with everybody. However, the third place finish is the Love Blanket Project. We thought it was a laudable project, had perhaps too many goals, refine the goals a little bit, and look at the cost because we're not sure it's sustainable that way. But it is a very good project, and congratulations to the folks. Second place goes to Annie's Children. We too believe it is a very great project, really for support for the orphanages in the various countries. I think it's very laudable, and I think they need to really refine their target to the orphanages as opposed to just shoes or some particular item. And look at the upfront funding because zero doesn't work a lot of times. The Med Fund is the winner. We think that it's really making an impact, and it is a sustainable project. If we look at the number of people that they can serve and the people that are influenced by people that want to help and the model that they put together for sort of a one-on-one project. We do believe that they need to look at some unintended consequences they might get if, in fact, they advertise the zero overhead because, as we said, there is no free lunch and they need to really look at that and refine their business model a little bit. But again, thanks to the audience, thank everybody for their participation. It really is, on behalf of the judges, it was an honor to serve and be part of this, so thank you.
And now, my friends, before I close, I want to say the Maryland way is doing good. So go out now and Do good. Good night.